Good morning. I'm not going to say I've been overwhelmed by the response that I've had to the Ford Capri video, because I knew that we were going to get that response, because that's the reason I made the video. We loved the Ford Capri. But I've had a couple of emails overnight that sort of make this situation kind of worse than it already is. I'm going to read this one to you. Dear Geoff, I'm sending you a message in relation to the Ford Capri, not the old one, but the new Volkswagen. This is what is going on at Ford. Due to the green targets, where so much of the brand has to be green, Ford as a company could not afford to lose Mustang, so everything else was sacrificed. The Mustang had to remain petrol. There is so many green levies on this car that the rest of the range had to compensate. Ford are and always have been a blue-collar workers brand. The rising costs of an EV SUV has placed Ford into an unfitting price bracket for its customer base. It placed Ford into the premium price bracket, and they tried this with the Vignale brand to try and hold on to Mondeo sales, and that failed. Do you remember the Mondeo Vignale? And they launched Vignale as like a posher upmarket version of Ford so they could try sell them at a higher price point. People still bought Audis on PCP, and now they are trying it with the EVs as they cost the thicker end of £50,000. This has put Ford in line with the premium brands. If you look at Mustang and Mustang Mach-E, it doesn't carry the blue oval anywhere, and this is done on purpose. It's Mustang first and Ford second. Why? Because they can't be seen to be charging £40,000 to £50,000 for a Ford car of the people. Now they're sort of trying this again with Capri. The Capri name is almost a brand in itself. Historically, you'd say, oh, I've got a Capri, not I've got a Ford Capri. You'd just say, I've got a Capri. And everybody north of 30 knows exactly what you mean. It's Capri first and Ford second. The issue is that Ford needs the European customer to be able to form that heritage link due to the lack of continuity, if you're still with me. Amco Leenart of Ford is obsessed with using pastiche names, only as a way to market cars. That way, he doesn't have to think of any new names. Manufacturers are struggling to find names that don't offend in other countries, which is why Volkswagen have started using letters and numbers. They also need to find names that haven't been used already or carry similar names to other models. This is why Puma is rebranded and Cougar is used. Cougar, K-U-G-A, was registered by Ford at the same time as Cougar was released, C-O-U-G-A-R. So he's saying that the Cougar name, K-U-G-A, was registered when the Cougar was launched in the late 90s? Ford often trademark other spellings that sound the same when spoken to prevent copyright of similar brands using similar names, like what the Chinese would do. So he's saying that Ford have probably got Cortina, spelt with a K, copyrighted already. There will be more to come because of this reason. I predict Escort, Cortina, etc. could follow. I want to see the Maverick coming back. Has the Maverick come back yet? PCP deals won't change this. Ford are deluded. Years ago, when you bought a new car and were having to find an extra £3,000 or £4,000 in comparable terms to buy a premium brand, you wouldn't do it. These days, it's just having to find an extra tenner a month for a PCP deal, personal contract purchase deal, to get you in an Audi or a BMW. People are very social media conscious, and a new Ford just won't cut it on Instagram or Facebook for the pretentious. It's still seen as a low-rent brand to the 5-bob millionaires. What a great point. Superbly put. Social media is the problem. People will stretch themselves financially to make other people think that they aren't stretching themselves financially. Ford had an almost perfect opportunity to be creative and disrupt the market. Puma works because it's cheap enough to take historic Focus owners to transfer PCP deals when they end, and Fiesta owners to upgrade the similar deals. So he's saying that the Puma actually works as a product because it can steal customers from the Focus and the Fiesta. The rest of the range has absolutely no chance. Amco Leenart and Jim Farley are struggling. They are way off the mark. Ford at the moment are not in with a chance of disappearing, but give it 5 years. This is the worst decision Ford have ever made as far as I'm concerned. They've sunk their teeth into the arrogance bar, and they're going to find out that it tastes terrible and gives you the squits. The arrogance bar. Yeah, don't be biting on the arrogance bar. We can get blinkered in the UK by Ford's operations, but believe me, they remain very much an American company. The old Ford of Europe is a big headache for them at the minute. Jim Farley is more focused on Ford's arm of the commercial sector, such as transit, and its success, which we tend to forget about more so than the cars. The commercial corner is very profitable. I'm going to pause there. That is the end of the first message. When you think about Ford and their commercial division, I have to go back to the video that I made about Ford Transit wet belts and Ford's reluctance to do anything about it. That is the most profitable part of Ford, and it's massively under attack from all of these wet belt warranty claims. So no wonder they aren't bending over backwards to look after their commercial customers. They can't afford to do it because it's the only profitable side of the business, reading between the lines. Another video coming up on wet belts, actually, with Polly, because she's now started scrapping 2017 Ford Transits. After that, I said, do you mind if I turn this into a video? To which the gentleman, who I won't name or say who he is, said absolutely no problem at all. He then goes on to say, the Focus, pardon the pun, as it was a great car and one of Ford's finest moments, it was. You can't deny that the Ford Focus, despite the name not being very inspiring, was a masterstroke. The Focus is now coming from customer clinics, or feedback is on interior materials and the connectivity and toys. So, like I've been saying, it's less about it being a car and more about what it's made from and what it's got for the driver to play with, not so much about how it drives. The issue that Ford have, much the same as other manufacturers, is saving weight, and this conflicts with the toys. One of the sells for high-end cars was for men in pubs to throw the keys on the table and open bonnets, and now, of course, there is nothing to see. Yeah, absolutely right. No keys, and you open the bonnet and you just see plastic covers and maybe some cables if you're lucky. The metrosexual man and woman, or them, they, or any other bloody identity people want to use as a pronoun, focus on the interior. This is where the future design elements will be. The clinics all come back with the first thing that people look at is the interior. Wow, we really are doomed. This is why they don't need to bother designing the outside of the car. This is why they all look the same. This is why the Capri looks like a Polestar, and if you squint, they all look like the Volkswagen ID whatever, because the focus groups and the little study rooms and all the little, consumer feedback surveys have said that people are bothered about the interior, not the exterior. Wow, so disappointing. I mean, WTF, but there is nothing else. It's clear that designers and felt tip fairies have given up on external design and all of the constraints that technology, safety and legislation places on them. The technology to increase kilowatt per hour is to decrease wheel width, so taller, thinner tyres are coming, and believe it or not, floating bearings. I don't really know what they are, but Amco Lean Arts is also considering bringing back a modern velour to give cars a retro element. So that all says to me then that we're stuck with the silhouette that we've got, which is this mock SUV design. I mean, how many can I see right now? To be fair, I'm sat once again at the Morgan factory and it's quiet today, so I can only see the little Toyota, but it's roughly the same silhouette as the Capri, and I can see a BMW X6, which, to be honest, is starting to look good. And if the modern car design is that bad that I'm starting to look at a BMW X, I can't even say it. They're horrible and they're driven by idiots. But if I'm starting to think, yeah, all right, I'll go for a BMW X6 over a modern electrical SUV, then we've got problems. So the problems at Ford run deep. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I don't think this is going to be my final video on the Capri because I've got other emails to dig into as well. Thank you very much for watching. Now, go on eBay and look at classic Ford Capris to get the image of the new one out of your head and the image of a BMW X6 as well. Go check out E30 BMWs.